there's one prediction that I make like the same every year for I don't know how many years, and that's the first prediction. And that customers are smarter than ever. They know what good service is. They experience it from great companies.
Welcome to the Global Experience. Get ready as we take you into the dynamic world of customer service and collections.
You will gain access to the secrets of success in the world of customer and employee experience through conversations with keynote speakers, industry mavericks, and CX and debt collections experts and influencers.
Let's get into it.
Sawubona, welkom, and hello. Welcome to another episode. On today's show, we have the famous Shep Hyken. Now, everyone knows him as the customer experience expert, a keynote speaker, a New York Times best-selling author. He is all things CX. Shep, most CX listeners and those in the industry are aware of who you are. So we would like to give them something unique about Shep to start this episode. So if we were to introduce you, putting CX aside, what is one thing you would say makes Shep Shep?
Putting CX aside, well, first of all, I'm a guy that never gets bored. And by the way, thank you for having me on the show. It's great to see you, and it's great to be seen in South Africa. It's been a few years since I've been to Africa, just right before the pandemic, and I've been over there 4 times. So in not always South Africa, but I've been over in Lagos and all that. So great to be back. I have lots of hobbies, and I think something people really don't know about me is I play guitar. And you can see in my background, those are my office guitars where if the maintenance guy hits me with a vacuum cleaner, I don't care. But I'm pretty serious. I don't know if you're familiar with John Mayer.
Yes.
So, yeah, I play with John Mayer about twice a month on YouTube. I turn on a YouTube video and play along with John Mayer. It's very much fun. So
That's very cool.
I'm just so think about no, I don't really play with. I play with his video. So, so you weren't laughing in the right spot. So I thought maybe I need to clarify it. But I play guitar, I do magic tricks, and I play ice hockey. So there you go. 3 things some people may or may not know about me.
Well, no, that's cool.
I have fun in life. And I think when you read my content, like my weekly content on my blog has a cartoon every week. I like to have a good time. So there you go.
I love that. You always got to have fun. So, Shep, something we like to do before we kickstart our episode is we like to give our listeners just a better understanding of where our guest is in the world. We understand that the CX industry is so widespread. So if you could please provide the city or country that you're in currently, the time as well as the temperature you're experiencing there. We'll start. So we are currently sitting in the sunny South Africa. We are in our Johannesburg office, and the time is 4:40 p.m. in the afternoon, and it is currently 25 degrees Celsius. So it's nice and
beautiful.
warm here.
That's beautiful. I am in St. Louis, Missouri, middle of the United States, and the current temperature. I'm 29 degrees Fahrenheit, which would probably be about 2 degrees, 3 degrees minus Celsius where you are. Yeah, and but it is a beautiful, almost sunny day. It shall be sunny later today, and it's brisk and it's cool, and I love that weather.
Brilliant. I mean, I think we would probably die in that weather. Yeah. We are not built for that type of cold. Our buildings aren't built for it. Our houses aren't built for it. But as long as you enjoy it, that's the most important thing.
Right. Well, I like 4 seasons. 4 seasons. It's nice to have, and so we have them all here.
Yeah, that's epic. That's epic. And maybe to kickstart us with this conversation, it might be a simple answer. It might not be a simple answer. But what initially led you to the world of CX that you find yourself so ever present in today?
Sure. It really started when I was about 12 years old when I started my first business, and I was doing magic shows at birthday parties. And I came home and my mom said, "What are you going to do after after dinner tonight. And I thought because it was a school night that I would be doing homework. But she goes, not until you write a thank you note to the customer that just hired you for $16. Actually, it was 15 plus a dollar tip to perform. Remember, I'm a little kid. $16, even today, that's not bad. But in today's
Yeah.
dollars, many, many years later, that would be like 2,412 US dollars. No, it wouldn't be that much. But no, $16 today would probably be about $150 for an hour's worth of work for a 12-year-old kid. Anyway, I did that. And my dad said, great idea. Show appreciation to your customer by writing a thank you note. But my dad said, follow up in a week, thank them again, ask them how they liked the show and what tricks did they like the best. And you'll notice there's a pattern after a while that people will talk about tricks they love and not talk about tricks that aren't memorable. And I go, oh, okay. And he goes, and change your show to modify so that every trick is something that they would talk about. Wow. So what is that called? Showing appreciation, getting feedback, operationalizing the feedback, and process improvement. Now, those weren't the words that I was using at age 12, but that's exactly what my dad and mom were teaching me. And when I recognized that this is what it was, and that this is what every company on the planet who's successful does, I thought, wow, I was learning customer service and experience at a very young age. So it was kind of like, and by the way, I embraced it. I loved it. I had no problem doing everything my dad talked about, and my mom, and I was excited about doing it. So there you go. That's where it all started. And when I graduated college, I looked for a job, and I saw a couple of motivational speakers, and I said, well, I could probably do that. And I'm going to write a speech about customer service. And eventually, customer service morphed into customer experience, which is a much bigger version, service being a part of it. But that's really how it all started. And I've been doing this for a long time. And, here I am today talking to people on the other side of the world. I'm excited just thinking about it.
So we can thank mom and dad initially.
There you go.
So I think I was checking on your LinkedIn earlier today, your experience. And usually when people go, you have like the 4 or 5 layers of experience first up, and then you click more to see a little bit more of like what else they've done earlier. And I looked there and I saw 260 more experience points on your LinkedIn profile. So from that 12-year-old doing magic to 270 odd different points of experience later and being an author of 7 books. How did you get from there to being an author of 7 books? And I guess on the author element, what motivated you to write that first book?
Sure. And by the way, the 260, 70 experiences, it's actually many more. But what I've done is when I do a speech that might be a little different industry, I put that as an experience. So those are all companies or industries that I have been speaking in and working in, doing either my speech or them hiring us for training, that type of thing. So my first book was written in the late 1980s. It was titled Moments of Magic. And by the way, if you hired me to do a speech, I would talk about what a moment of magic is. And if you hired me a second and a third and a fourth time before I got into new material, I would remind you of what that moment of magic is. And there you go, magic tying into my whole background. So the book was basically an extension of Jan Carlson's idea about a moment of truth, which is anytime a customer comes into contact with any aspect of a business, they form an impression. And when he wrote about this in the early 1980s, and I read this article, which he eventually turned into a book, I thought, moment of truth, that's a really cool idea. Now, Jan Carlson said the moment of truth can be good and bad. And what he wanted every employee who interacted with the customer is to manage the interaction and make it a positive moment of truth, even if it's subtle, like you're walking by somebody and you wave at them and smile at them. If you're wearing the uniform of Scandinavian Airlines, that's a subtle little positive moment of truth. And then he talked about other things like, what would impact the experience. And he didn't realize he was talking about customer experience, but things like, is the tray table on the airplane when it flips down, or in many cases it comes out of the side. If it doesn't work, if it's broken, what's the customer or the passenger going to think about other things related to what may or may not work on the plane? If the tray table doesn't work, is the landing gear going to go down properly? You know, so
Yeah, that is
so
something you do not want to worry about.
right. Anyway, so Jan Carlson, and by the way, he also talked about internal service. He goes, if you're not serving the customer directly, or the passenger in his case, you're supporting somebody that is, and I'll add, you're also potentially part of a process that eventually impacts the customer. So all of this ties in, but I came up with this idea that the moment of truth is more than just good or bad. I refer to the bad ones as moments of misery, any interaction that's negative, a complaint, a problem, or just a bad experience. And then there's one in the middle, which is average. How many times have you said, how did you like, your dinner the other night? It was fine. Fine is not really fine. Fine is the F bomb of customer experience. We want to stay away from that 4-letter word, because fine is average, mediocre, nothing special. And we do research every year, and we know that if all a company is average, guess what happens? First company that comes along that's better than that, customer will switch a good percentage of the time. Anyway, and then of course the positive moments of truth, I refer to those as moments of, you guessed it, magic. So the moment of magic is any positive experience that a customer has. Avoid misery. Definitely avoid mediocrity, because people will at least tell you if they had a bad experience if you ask them, and they'll complain if it's really bad. But if it's just okay, satisfactory, average, fine, they're never going to say anything. They're just going to go on, and one day they disappear.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I must say, I love the analogy. You always refer back to your first book and how it's still relevant. I think that is awesome. I mean, yeah, so let's fast forward now to one of your latest books, which I'm very interested about, and that is I'll Be Back.
I'll
How
be
to get
back.
customers to come back again and again.
Yes.
Personally, I love the reference to the Terminator. That was so creative. It really did play on my mind over and over, and I was like, that is
So
just
I'll
so
show you.
creative.
Let's see.
Yeah.
This is the book, and it actually has the Terminator font. This is a font that they actually sell. And I don't know
No
if
way.
yeah. Now, when I wrote the book, I started thinking, there's a reason I wrote the book. And every once in a while, I mean, I write, as you know, I write every single week. I actually do 3 articles every week, plus paid content that clients have me do to put in their publications. So I'm writing 150 to 200 articles a year. So when I get enough new material that I think is really new and different, I'll write a new book. Well, one day I was doing a speech for a client, and we were talking about the different ways that they measure success. And here's what the CEO of this very large company said. We measure success in different ways. Of course, we look at NPS, Net Promoter Score. We have a CSAT evaluation. They have so many customers, actually, that they're able to send out all kinds of different surveys to find out, different measurements, so that and they're smart. Every survey's short. Anyway, I digress. Here's what he said. As good as those scores may be, the most important thing we measure is simply this: does the customer come back? Boom. Wow. So as we dove into it, I realized he wasn't measuring customer satisfaction anymore, or the intent to recommend. How likely are you to recommend somebody on a scale of 0 to 10? NPS question, which, by the way, I love all these measurements, and they all serve a great purpose. But when he says, does the customer come back? I go, explain what you mean. So let me put it to you in very simple terms. Obviously, I don't have hair, but if I did have hair, okay, I would get a haircut on a regular basis. How regular? Maybe once a month. So I'm going to go somewhere and get my hair cut. That means 12 times a year I should show up at that salon, right? However, what happens if I miss a month or miss 2 months? Now I've broken the traditional cadence of my behavior, right? I'm no, and if somebody's tracking this at the salon, they're going to say, what happened to Shep? Is he sick? Did we give him a bad haircut and he went to someone else? We got to find out. Okay. So that was where this all came from. And I thought, that is brilliant. So the measurement is, and I write about this in the new book, I'll Be Back. Does the customer come back? Hence the title. Now, when I wrote the title, I'll Be Back, I didn't think about Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Terminator until 3 sentences into writing the outline. And I thought, I wonder if I'm even allowed to use this.
Yeah.
Is it patented?
Literally.
And for this
Trademarked.
purpose, I'm allowed to use it. Yes.
No, that's awesome. And for someone that hasn't read the book yet, if you could give them a brief summary of what they should expect to learn from reading I'll Be Back.
I throw a number of ideas. I talked about something that's really basic about, and this is more about general customer service and experience. And I'll get into I'm going to give you 2 things that are in the book that are really important. The I'll Be Back concept I just shared, very, very important to understand why I wrote the book, that it's the most important measurement. No matter how happy your customers are, do they come back? Number 2
Yeah.
is a fundamental thought. When customers interact with your company, I was asked to do a speech, and it was about a 45-minute speech, closing speech. And the client said to me, you have to get off the stage at exactly this time. I don't care what time you go on. We're running a few minutes behind, so you're going to have to tighten up your speech. Well, they weren't just a few minutes behind. Every speaker went over their time allotment. And by the time it got to me, it was 2 minutes left in the day before I had to get off the stage. And the client said to me, I'm really sorry, we're not going to put you on. I go, what do you mean? You hired me to do a speech. We only have 2 minutes. I know. I've got the perfect speech. Really. And I did the shortest speech I think I've ever done on customer service. And I walked out and I said, I know many of you are looking at your watches knowing that everybody's got to load up in a bus to go to this event. And you're wondering, what am I going to do in 2 minutes? Well, now I only have about a 1 minute and about 45 seconds. So let's pretend I was just introduced and I'm about to give you the shortest customer service speech in the world of all time. Are you ready? Applause. Thank you very much. I looked into the audience and I said, be nice. And then I started to walk off stage. And then I came back into the center of the stage. I go, okay, so it's 2 words, and I think I've got about a minute left. And let me just share with you that being nice is fundamental to everything when it comes to customer service and experience. It's an expectation. People don't want to deal with people that aren't friendly, that aren't helpful, that aren't knowledgeable. So I have written now 7, actually 8 books on customer service and experience. And here's the thing. There's a lot there, but the foundation, if you're not nice and you don't treat people with respect, dignity, make them feel appreciated, they're going to move on. I'll be back next year to do the rest of the speech. Still have 15 seconds, but I'll let you guys go early. And I walked off. That was the end of that. But isn't that fundamental? So that's an important idea, is no matter how good your product is and how perfect the experience might be, if your customer interacts with one of your employees and that part of the experience is really bad, we've got, and again, I'm doing my annual survey and I just looked at some of the numbers that came in yesterday. About a third of the customers are going to say, I'm out of here. Okay. Are you willing to risk that? A third of your customers are higher because you just weren't nice or friendly, or you showed apathy or were rude. Can't be done. The last chapter of the book, to me, is where the real, I call it where the rubber hits the road. It's the real meat of an idea. And that is the 6-step, or it's actually 6-question process that takes people through the I'll be back concept. And very briefly, the first question is, why would someone do business with us? And you really have to dig down, not just, hey, we're friendly and nice, but do we do something different? Or do we have a product that's completely different that makes us unique? Number 2, why would customers do business with them, the competition? Number 3, what is it that they're doing that we should be doing and could be doing, but let's not copy it. Let's figure out a way to make it our own if there is something there. Number 4 is, what companies outside of our industry do we love and why? And this is real important, the why part, because we could say, well, I love doing business with this restaurant down the street. Okay, why? Great food. Okay, what else? They know me. Every time I walk in, they remember me and they always put me at the same table. That's what you like. I love Amazon. Why? They're so quick and fast. Why? And we get more into it. I love that they email me. What do you mean? They email me when I place the order, send the order, and tell me it's there. You love emails? No, I don't love emails. I love knowing what's going on. Okay. So
It's a
you get the
communication.
idea of
We
what
don't
you
love
love about
emails,
these.
we love transparency.
Right. Well, transparency,
Yeah,
and when it's the right communication, it's all about giving customer information to make them feel they're in control of the situation.
yeah,
And when you do, so anyway, that's the question is, what do we love about them? And then the fifth question is, okay, let's take all these things we love about these different companies that aren't even in our industry, and is there something that they're doing that we should or could be doing? And then we really separate ourselves from the competition. And then you look at question number 6, which goes back to question number 1. Although this time it's now that we've gone through this process and we've implemented some new ideas, now why does a customer want to do business with us? So that's the 6-step process in a nutshell. And it's real simple. And it is something that I promise you, if you ask these questions in a group environment with leaders and stakeholders within your company who are on the front line, different positions, I promise you're going to get answers that are going to say, wow, I can move to another level if I implement some of these.
yeah. That's awesome. The fact that you guys boiled it down to being nice and also boiling it
That's it.
down to how to get customers back. Like take out all the complications. Let's really see what we want to do here. And I think that's so, so amazing. So I definitely recommend the book already. I haven't even read it yet. um, so Shep, I mean, been in the industry for so long. I mean, you started when you were 12 practically. You must have
Well, if you
noticed a
go
lot
back
of
that
shifts.
far, I have been in it
Yeah.
a really long time.
We'll thank Dad for that. Yeah, you must have noticed a lot of changes in trends. And I mean, it's an ever evolving industry, CX is. What would you say is the one most, or like the most significant change in the last year? And what do you think we should predict in the next year, the year coming, 2024? And maybe we can dive into one of your recent articles, 10 customer service and CX predictions for 2024.
There you go. Well, let's start. And again, you could ask me tomorrow, and I might give you a different answer because it's what's in my head right now.
Yeah.
Uh, but looking at that article, which are the predictions of the trends, there's one prediction that I make like the same every year for I don't know how many years, and that's the first prediction, and that customers are smarter than ever. They know what good service is. They experience it from great companies. And what it's done is it's created an expectation where the customer says, and I don't care what industry you're in, and I don't care what the company that is setting the benchmark for that customer, that's who they're comparing you to. So you could be in the B2B space selling to companies, but they love the grocery store they do business with, and they love that cashier that just takes great care of them and recognizes them. And, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, as we talked about, the I'll be back process, why
Mhm.
can't we be as good as they are? And so recognize your customers know what great service is. Companies are teaching them, and you need to know it's not just competitors. It's really anybody that's great service is setting in their mind what great service is. Now, with that in mind, you asked about the big thing happening in the last year, and we've had AI, even generative AI, for many years. I started going to the IBM Think conferences, which were Watson conferences, even further back in the
Yeah.
2014-15 range, so about 9 years ago. And I went through something called Cognitive College, which is to teach me how to interact with a chat bot that was smart enough that if my graduation, if you will, was I created this scenario between a customer who called in or went on a website and typed in questions about buying a bike for his daughter, and which is something that I remember doing in person. But how could we do it using artificial intelligence? And the bot could recognize, okay, how old is your daughter? What kind of bike does she want? Does she want to ride around on the street with friends, or does she want to go on a trail? And ask me all the right questions to determine what bike I wanted. Well, that has come so far. And now we have something called ChatGPT. So I can't wait to see my new research, which we just sent out to our consumer base that we send out to every year. Because
Yeah.
last year I asked about the digital experience. How comfortable are you dealing with chatbots? And it ended up pretty low as far as what they really wanted in an experience. There is a percentage of customers, I think it was about 31, 32%, that are interested in going self-service digital first. And why isn't it more than that with this great technology, Chat GPT?
Hmm.
Because in January, when I do the study, it had only been out for a month where people were starting to understand what generative AI was, Chat
Yeah.
GPT, and there's many other technologies similar to that. So I predict in the next year, customers are going to be more comfortable with ChatGPT type technology. So they're going to be fine typing in. They'll be even fine interacting with, video, audio, whatever, where they're going to know they're talking to a robot, and the robot is going to be very conversational. It's going to sound normal, yet they know it's a generative AI. They won't know that's the actual technical term for it. But here's the bottom line. We're going to start to see self-service get better, but this is what another study found, CMP Research, which is from the folks that really operate in the contact center world. They said that when the customer has a bad experience with digital, they tend not to want to do the digital experience with anyone. So I think
Hmm.
we're in that state
Ruins it for
where
everyone.
people are going to be comfortable with it and know that not everybody's perfect and still continue to use it. But a majority of customers right now are waiting for the good stuff to come down the road.
Okay. So it's very, very much, I guess, to the start. Um, there was that AI awareness last year, and now it's about that AI adoption and being
Yep.
a bit more comfortable with it.
Right.
Which I've seen that, and I've also seen some people predicting that it's more about how AI is going to personalize the interaction
Right.
for a consumer in 2024, as well as finding the best ways to augment an agent or a customer service individual around AI
Yeah.
to kind of supercharge that agent. So,
So there's
um,
several things happening there. Number one is you mentioned awareness and adoption, and I think that's exactly where I was going. But the adoption is
yeah,
going to be slower than we think because if somebody doesn't do it right, they're not going to jump back in. My mom, for example, may she rest in peace, many, many years ago went on Amazon and she had a bad experience because she didn't know what she was doing. And it took her like 2 more years before she got back into Amazon. Yet every week, Mom, just buy it from Amazon. It's no, I didn't like. So that's where we are right now. Number two, uh, AI is not going to replace contact center jobs, or really, it's actually it's going to disrupt, but not like take away completely, because no matter how good the machine is, there's going to be a time when somebody just wants to talk to somebody, and that is still in the near future, and maybe even uh, say somewhat distant future, where people
yeah,
are going to be moving from tier one support being managed by AI to something more substantial, which is making sure then our contact center people are taken care of and trained properly to deal with higher level problems. Then something else you said, AI will augment the experience by helping somebody at a company, a salesperson, a customer service agent, get information quickly, okay, because now AI will help the employee, not the customer. And finally, AI is going to help personalize the experience because the machine's going to recognize the customer, recognize buying patterns, and either feed that information to a sales rep or a customer service agent, or take it on themselves to say, oh, I see you've been back here before and you had this problem before. I recognize you're coming back for the same problem. AI can do that now and interact with the
yeah,
customer at that level. So there's lots of cool stuff going on.
yeah. Okay, so maybe wrapping up the content side of this, Shep. Um, you have been a speaker at 1,001, probably more, different events, right? Sometimes it's where organizations are letting you, like giving you the guidelines on what to talk about. Sometimes you have the freedom to talk about what you want. Um, but in all of those, is there anything you haven't shared yet that you wish to share on this podcast specifically?
Oh my gosh. Like you said, I've written all these books. Okay. I have a lot to share. Um, I want people to recognize that customer service is not a department. It's a philosophy. And it's the same thing with customer experience. It's not a strategy. It's really, I mean, it is that if you want to look at it from the basic level, but really it's cultural, it's philosophical. And a leader in an organization needs to recognize this is the kind of company we want to be. And then everybody needs to understand where they fit into the experience, whether they're supporting it, whether they're supporting somebody in the company who then supports directly a customer, whatever their part is, or maybe they're really truly frontline facing. Understand, be properly trained, and go out there and deliver and recognize, again, it's not about just a tactic. It is philosophical. And when people understand that this is who we are and this is our company and this is what we strive for, and it's not just interaction, but it's actually, well, it is interactions. It's not transactional. It's more interactional, meaning it's ongoing. That's when we start to see change. And I hope that people recognize that. So service and CX, it's not a department or a tactic. It's a philosophy to be embraced by everyone, from the CEO or owner of a company to the most recently hired.
Brilliant. And cuts. Perfect. Love to hear that. That's
Boom. That's a wrap.
That's great to hear.
And scene.
That's great, Shep. So moving on to see a little bit of your South African knowledge, right? You've been here, I think you said, you've been to Africa, I think 4 times.
Yeah.
And you've been down to South Africa, which is amazing to hear. So I've got 3 questions for you. It's going to be short, light, so it's going to be fun, not difficult questions, just to test your South African knowledge. Are you ready?
I don't know how good I'm going to be, but I'm going to try.
Okay, that's fine. So, question 1. In which South African city did Dr. Christiaan Barnard perform the world's first successful human-to-human heart transplant in 1967? Is it A, Johannesburg? Is it B, Cape Town? Or is it C, Port Elizabeth?
Wow. Well, I haven't been to Port Elizabeth. I've been to both Cape Town and Johannesburg. I got to go with Joburg. Just because it's big, it's out there, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm guessing.
Locked in.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm
Question
locked in.
2.
Can I call a friend? Can I phone a friend? Can I do a 50-50?
Sorry, we don't have those options available on this podcast. Sorry about that. Question 2. What is
I
the
don't know.
average height?
What's the answer? You're not going to give me the answer?
No, we'll give it
At
to you
the
at the end.
Oh, okay, good.
Keep you waiting.
Yeah, you'll get it a week later once we've got independent auditors to verify the answer. Brilliant. So, question 2. What is the average height of the highest point of Table Mountain? Is it A, around 3,500 feet above sea level, B, around 4,000 feet above sea level, or C, around 2,500 feet above sea level?
I'm going to go with 2,500 feet. I'm surprised you're giving it to me in feet. I know 4,000 feet's close to a mile, and I've been there. It's not a mile high. It may take a mile to, or it's like 5,000 some odd feet is a mile. I'm going with the middle answer. 20. It's at 2,500. Is that what you said?
So it was A, 3,500, B, 4,000, and C, 2,500.
I'm going with C, 2,500.
Okay, cool.
Locked in.
Then the last question, an easy one. What is the capital of South Africa? Is it A, Cape Town, B, Pretoria, or C, Johannesburg?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to go with Cape Town. I'm probably wrong with that. I should know. I knew you were going to ask me something like that. And because, I'm trying to remember if I saw a Capitol building in either, and I haven't seen the Capitol building in either of the 2 cities. So I don't know, but I got to go with, because I love it. It's pretty, it's beautiful. And even if I'm wrong, just know that it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. Okay. So I can't.
It is.
It really is. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see how you did. So, question 1, you answered A, Johannesburg, but the first the heart transplant was actually performed in Cape Town. So, one of the beautiful cities in the world.
It is.
That's where the first human-to-human heart transplant occurred. Then question 2, the around about average height of the highest point of Table Mountain. You said 2,500, but it is actually around 3,500. The highest point is actually 3,563 feet above sea level. And then on to question 3. This is a hard one for most people because they do usually think it's Cape Town, and it is unfortunately not. The answer is actually B. The capital of South Africa is Pretoria.
Yep. So, well, there you go.
Yeah,
Boy, I'm glad that my life was not at stake over these questions because, so I'm going to ask you a question. I live in St. Louis, and one of the most famous monuments in the United States is the Gateway Arch. Can you tell me, is it 500 feet tall, 680 feet tall, or 920 feet tall?
Are we allowed to ask a friend?
You can ask each other.
I'll answer 680.
That is correct. It's a middle one, 620. But very good. Now,
Nice.
so if you've seen the arch, it goes like this. Is it wider at the bottom or is it taller?
Us.
Yeah.
They're talking to each other, and the answer is
We'd say wider at the bottom.
all right. It's a trick question. It's the same.
Okay.
It looks really weird because it looks like it would be much taller because of the height. But if you actually measure, it's exactly the same height and width at the bottom, which is kind of a cool thing. And what's really interesting is if you see this and you just Google Gateway Arch, they started on each end and they went to the very top. And if they would have been off by a tiny little bit, a few centimeters at the bottom, they would have been off by yards at the top because they took a helicopter and dropped the last piece in, and it became one of the most visited and remembered monuments in the United States. All right, so I tested you.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
And I mean, we haven't seen it in person, so I guess on one of our US trips this year, we're headed over to your hometown.
And if you do that, you've got a place to stay.
Love to hear.
Come and
Love
visit
to
me.
hear.
Or at least a home-cooked meal.
Love to hear that, Shep. Thank you
And
so
I will
much. You're so
personally
kind.
take you up to the top of the arch.
Yay.
Okay, we'll hold you to that.
All right.
Fantastic. But coming to the end of the episode, Shep, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. We absolutely love your energy. It's very clear to see why people pay you to do these kind of things.
Oh, thank you.
You're a natural, honestly, and it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. And I think if there's one thing our listeners can walk away with is that you can't be lazy in the CX industry, right? You need to keep up with the trends and evolve with the times every year on year. There are new trends, there are new focus points. And I think one of the ways to do this is to just follow you on LinkedIn and on your website. I think it's very clear.
Thank you.
You share a lot of valuable content. And just for like a shout out for the audience, you can find Shep on his website, hyken.com, as well as on his LinkedIn, Shep Hyken, which we will include in the show notes. And then, Shep, we're very excited also to see if your 10 customer service and CX predictions for 2024 turn out to be true. Maybe we'll have a podcast next year, same time, and discuss them and see how that went. But huge thank you, Shep, for joining us on the show, and hope you have an awesome rest of your day.
You do the same. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you had as much fun as we did and gained valuable experience insights.
Let us know what you think. Connect with us on social media and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Stay inspired, stay customer centric, and know that the world of customer experience and collections is within your reach, the global experience.